Okay, so before we get started, basically I apologize for the delay on this. Turns out Panopto lost its mind with the recording from last class and just won't render the video, so I needed to. So I'm just going to go ahead and recreate this this video. Basically, what we're going to look at today is we're going to kind of continue on from where we were last time with this CFN simple Amazon Linux web. What I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to kind of copy and paste this. So let me go ahead and do a copy, paste that back in there. I'll do a quick rename. And we'll take out the simple part. Okay, we got that. And let me go ahead and load that up. All right, so the main thing, first thing that I want to do actually is set up a parameters section here. Pretty much like what we were doing in some of these other ones. So actually, I guess a good one would be yeah, this one here, right? So this is the one of the Ubuntu ones. So let me just grab these parameters like that, and I'll come back over to here and paste those in. Then we'll actually plug those in the appropriate spots, right? So we have the key name, the key pair that we're using, and SSH location. So let me just kind of scroll down through here. And yeah, there's the user data. That's generally where we've been putting this. So it is, I believe, it is key name. Yes. And then we'll have a ref to the key name parameter. Then additionally, we'll want to duplicate this. Our port, of course, will be 22 for SSH, and we'll do our ref SSH location. All right, so that should basically get that set up so that we're capable or able to log in. All right, let's go ahead and build off of that. So if I come here to CFN Amazon Linux web, and let's go ahead and click next. All right, so let's call this update test. Basically, so really what this whole thing is about. So let me do 0.0.0.0/32. All right. And next, and create. Okay, so that should get that created for us. Actually, just realized I probably messed that up. Let me go ahead and delete that. Since the other one probably is there. Actually, I wanted 0.0.0.0/0 is what it is. There it is. Okay. And we'll go ahead and click next there, go ahead and click next there, and go ahead and create this. So when we talked last time about this, we were making use of cfn-init, right? So you'll recall we did this stuff inside user data to call the CloudFormation helper script, the cfn-init script, to basically kind of kick stuff off, and that way we could use this nice declarative metadata section for installing packages, for setting up files, for getting systems running. Services running, all of that. Couple of things about this. So first off, what I'm going to do, just for kind of clarity's sake, I'm going to expand these out to kind of the long names, just so that it's a little clearer what we're doing with those. Okay. The other thing that we haven't done, that we weren't doing previously, and I'm going to add this in, is the ability to signal. So it's signaling the status from cfn-init via that. Okay. So just like this other command, it is one of the helper commands. Kind of looks like that, except it's cfn-signal. E, and then basically the idea with Signal is that what it's going to do, it's going to take, in this case, the return code from init. That's how we're referencing it using this $question mark, and we're going to pass that back essentially to the console to let it know whether the install has been successful or not. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of grab these things because I still need all of that information as well. Okay, like so. Now, one of the advantages of using the CloudFormation helper scripts is that it will allow us to do updates of our stack, right? So when we have a stack already created, like I do here, notice I have this option for updating the stack. Okay, so let me actually just kind of show you an example of this. So first of all, let me log into the to the system just so we can see that. So I'll fire up PuTTY, and it's an Amazon one, and let me go to outputs here, right? We'll double check that, yes, the web server is in fact running. And so we'll just paste that into there. All right, so I'm logged into to my server. I can do a few things here. So for instance, I can check to see what services are running by doing something like this. So I can say service status all, and I'll pipe that into less, and we'll actually get to see sort of, you know, the various things that are running, right? So kind of move down through here, we should actually see, I could do things like, for instance, grep for HTTP. Notice that is in fact running. So let me go ahead and just make a slight modification to our system here. And so let's say we want to install MySQL Server, okay, like so, onto this system. And so remember, in addition, just like with when we install the web server under Amazon's Linux, it turns out that we also have to have a corresponding entry in services to make sure that that's running. Yes, that's fine. All right. So let me paste that in, and so it would be MySQL D, and we'll make sure that that's running as well. Okay, cool, we've got that saved. Let's go ahead and we'll do an update stack here, and then I'm just going to browse to that particular stack that we just updated. I'll leave all of these things the same. And let's see, we'll kind of move through, and yep, so it figured out, yes, it's got to do that. We'll go ahead and click update. Okay, now the cool thing about this is that actually, notice it did figure out, it didn't actually kick me off the server. Oop, actually it looks like it did kick off the server, huh? That's kind of interesting. Oh no, wait. Strangely enough, I'm not sure why it actually... well, apparently it does seem to think that it's going to need a restart for some reason. That's fine. Let's see, update. Okay. Kind of still doing its thing. Now, this may actually sort of take a little bit to do this. Let's see. Still going. Let's see. Come on. Wonder if it's still down or not. There we go. Update complete. Okay, now we should be able to log back in. Let's double check that. I don't think it actually changed that, but let's double. Yep, looks like it did. Okay. All right, so again, let me go. All right, so if I go to history, right, let's go ahead and run that first one. And basically what we're looking for is MySQL. Okay, and notice MySQL is not running. Right, was it installed? Let's see, yum install MySQL server. Yum. Right, and basically it isn't actually installed. Okay, so the update didn't work. Now, why didn't the update work? Well, actually it's because we still needed to do some additional work. Okay, so the work that we've done so far isn't going to get the updates working. Okay, so let's look at how to make that happen. All right, I'm just going to kind of undo these changes for right now, taking those out. Let's see. Yes, that one's in. So if we look up the helper scripts, what we'll actually see, right, so notice there's a handful of helper scripts. So we've already seen cfn-init. We've talked about signal. cfn-hup is the one that we're actually really interested in. Notice it's a daemon to check for updates to metadata, execute custom hooks when the changes are detected. Okay, this is basically the thing that does the magic, if you will, for making sure that updates will actually happen. Okay, so basically what we do need to do is to get that set up. And to do that, we can actually do this kind of in a couple of different ways. So one, let me show you kind of how I sort of figured out how to do this, right? Basically, if I go to our lamp stack, the single instance lamp stack here, and I open this up in the template designer. Let's see, there it goes. Okay, and let me just switch this over to YAML because that'll be definitely much easier to read. So if we scroll down through here, we'll actually see a couple of things. Let me just get down to the section right there's where they're doing the various installs. There's the creating index PHP, and all the way, yeah. So first is the configuration of this file, this etc cfn-hup.conf file. Basically has to have these contents. We also need this cfn auto reloader conf file. Now, a couple of things to note about this. So one, I think actually I've already downloaded this. Yeah, there it is. Right, so let me actually open this up. So I already have this. I've downloaded this into. Oh, I thought I did. Apparently I didn't. That's good. Fine. We can come over to here, copy this, and paste that in. All right. Now we can actually just view this here rather than over there. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to kind of point out is this section here, and actually probably the easiest way. Let me go ahead and let's just do this. I'll go over to the template that I was working on. I'll do a vertical split and then click on this window. Oops, sorry. Click on this window, then open the file there. All right, there we go. So we can kind of get this side-by-side view of things to get a sense of how to set this up. Now, here's what I want to point out with this. So I'm going to go down to my files. My section here is a little bit is certainly considerably less. And let me just go ahead and grab this this header here. So there's the file that we want to create. I just want to make sure that's at the yep. Oops, sorry. It's at column 13. That one's also at column 13. Okay, we're good. Now, for whatever reason, and actually the reason that I suspect is that it has to do with the fact that the conversion from JSON to YAML has been automated, and so I have a feeling that that when they do that, they're doing certain things that end up with a YAML like this that ends up being a little more complex than it really needs to be. Okay, and let me show you what I mean by that. So, in the case of all this, right, I don't really need to use all of this kind of nested lists and various other things. We can actually use the technique that we used for specifying the contents of index.html, right? So that is, I can simply say, okay, I'll use the OR bar here, and then basically just start listing out the content, right? So here we see, for instance, that that they just have main specified just like that, and then they have the word stack and equal sign, and then they're using this this reference to this pseudo element, right? So recall the way that we would do this is like follows. Okay, but as soon as I'm using this in the content, that's where that sub function comes in. Right, so we talked about this before. Originally, when I had index.html, I had a sub in front of here, and I pointed out later that I actually don't need the sub there because I wasn't making use of any parameters or pseudo elements or anything like that. Here, I actually need to have that in to get the stack ID dumped in there. So that's why we're doing that. All right, then we need a region section, and again, that's also going to, notice it's referencing something, namely the AWS region. Okay, just like so. All right, and then the one other thing that I'm going to add that it doesn't appear here, I'm going to actually add this. So interval for the conf defines the number of minutes that have to elapse before the daemon will go and check that the metadata has changed. Okay, so basically remember, user data only gets executed once when the stack basically first gets started up. However, we can change the metadata, and that's the stuff that that basically the cfn-hup will handle for doing the updates. If we leave this off, the default interval is 15 minutes. Now, that might be fine for a production system, but in our case, I don't want to wait 15 minutes to see whether the update actually worked. So, so I'm just going to bump this down to 1 minute. Okay. Then I'll just grab the rest of these here, mode and so forth, and paste those in as well. Oops. That is off now. Okay, let's there we are. Yep, services got bumped in one. Okay, there we are. So we have the mode set, basically read only. Its owner and group are root. Okay, so that's one of the files that we need to configure. You notice there's also this other file here, and so again, I'm just going to make use of some copy and paste to be able to get that in there. Keeps throwing that around. There we go. All right. So this is the other file for configuring the update daemon. Okay, and so once again, I mean, you can see basically this conf file just knows about the stack and the region and the interval. Here is kind of where the real magic happens, if you will, right? So again, you know, we kind of have one of these little blocks for notice saying cfn auto reloader hook. Okay, again, we're going to have triggers post update. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over. Then we have this stuff, and I'm going to have to make one small change to that, right? So basically, the change that I, oops, what happened there? There it is. There we are. Ah, I think it's a line breaking issue. Oops, sorry. Let's just double check. Yeah, that's all it is, just a line break issue. Okay, the main thing, the thing that we do have to change, so notice path says resources, basically, resources, and then we need, then basically we need an instance. So now in this case here of where we're doing the copy and paste from, you'll notice if I scroll back, let's see where it is, right, the EC2 instance is referred to by the name web server instance. In my case, that's not what it's called, right? So again, let me scroll back down to there. Right, so instead of a web server instance, you'll notice that that ours we were calling EC2 instance, right? So let's just make sure to make that change there. Okay, so now we have the path set properly, and finally the action to take. And basically the action is just going to be essentially the cfn-init stuff that we had run previously, right? So this stuff here is what we also need to do in the case that we're doing an update. Okay, like so. So we put all of that stuff into there, and now this is almost set, right? So again, so we have that stuff, and one more. We have the run as root that we want to add in, and then of course setting our modes and so forth. There's that. Okay, again, read only, owner root, group root. Okay, so that is, those are the configuration files that we need for the cfn-hup daemon. Then we need to also make sure that that gets run, right? And again, we see that being done basically right here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just basically come over, and we will drop that in as well. Okay, so just like our web server, right? We make sure that it's enabled, ensure that it's running. Additionally, we are specifying the location of its configuration files. Okay, so that should make sure, or should allow us to be able to update our a running stack. Okay, so let's actually try this out. Okay, so again, I'm going to come over to here. I'll do a close. Let's create a new stack. Okay, and just like before, I'm going to use the cfn Amazon Linux like that, and we'll click next. Line 60, column 17. Okay, so that is right here. Doesn't like something right there. Okay, let's try that. Maybe somehow as I was copying and pasting, it might have been there might have been a tab that actually got stuck in there. All right, let's try this again. So we'll grab our template. Line 60, column 17 again. Huh? Oh, sorry. Once again, I need the OR bar to list out all of that. And again, since I'm making use of these references, I'm going to need to have a sub there as well. Yes. All right, let's give this a shot again. So we'll load that up. Hit next. Yeah, there we go. So update test, make sure to grab my key pair, and 0.0, yeah. So we'll do the zeros. And go ahead and click create. Now, as that's loading and running and all, let me go ahead and make another copy of this script. So I'll say copy, and I'm going to go ahead and put a paste in here, and so I'll rename. So this is going to be update test.yaml. Okay, so that's still doing its loading and all of that. Let me come back over here, and I can come in and add my updates just so that we can again, and I could have done this in the same file, but this way then when you refer back to the repo, you'll have the two different files to look at. Okay, so we want MySQL Server, get it from the default location. Then let's see, what else do we want to do? We are going to make sure that that is also running. And again, I'll just kind of duplicate this for us. And those things right there. Okay. So by now, let's see, yep, it is in fact running. Let's go ahead and do our checks. First of all, web server is still running. That's good. All right, let's try logging into this then. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, and we'll come over to Putty and load this up. Okay. So, now, should be able to see a few things. So, again, like before, sudo service status all. We already know that it's running because we did the little test for, but nevertheless, it's not bad to see. How about CFN? Right? Notice, cfn-hup is in fact running. Okay, so the update service is actually running, and so we should be able to get that to work. Let me just go ahead and so I'll go to var log, and I'm going to check a couple of things, right? So notice I have a few different files in here. There's, for instance, the cfn-hup log. We could actually check out that thing's contents just to make sure, right? So there's an info, but notice there's no errors listed there, so that looks good. I'm also just going to double check the cfn-init log. And again, let me go to the end, right? And yeah, we have the signaling. So yep, everything looked good here. Notice we don't really have any errors and all of that. So basically it started up and is running just fine. Okay, let's actually try to get this to update now. So as I said, you know, I've created this secondary script. Hang on. I created the secondary script, but then I did not edit that one. Let's see what we got here. Yes, okay, this is easy enough to fix. Let me do this. So okay, now I have the file names where I actually want them, right? So let's just double check this, right? So the CFN Amazon Linux, right? Yes, that only has HTTPD, and the update test one, yes, it is running both that and MySQL Server. Okay. Try to keep these things organized. So let's do an update stack. And again, I'll go browse, and I'll just grab that that particular file. So notice it sort of comes up, it says, okay, do I want to change any of these things? I'm just going to kind of leave those as they were set. I don't need to do anything here. And then it should compute the change set. There we go, it's computed the change set. Let me go ahead and run update. Okay, and our update is running. Okay, notice it does say update is complete. So let's check this out, right? Again, and again, notice it actually it did not disconnect me. So if I run history here, let me go ahead and run one, right? So notice HTTP is running, but really what I'm interested in is MySQL actually running. Turns out it isn't. All right, let's take a look at what might be going on there. All right, so var log okay, nothing really there. Let's check init log. Yes, okay. So looks like maybe I got the yes, I did. MySQL sever, okay. Yes, the MySQL sever package does not exist because it is MySQL server. So there's that. Let me double check. Okay, so that's just MySQL-D, so that shouldn't be an issue. All right, let's try updating again. Okay, so again, update's running. It says update is in fact complete. Where is, oh, did I happen to shut that down? Curious. All right. And notice, MySQL server is in fact running. I can verify this by running MySQL. Notice that, right, so show databases. So that is in fact running. All right. So that's pretty cool, right? Notice we were in fact able to update the system. Now, the downside of this, for instance, if I later decided, you know what, actually I don't really want MySQL in there, if I came in and actually deleted this out, as well as the other part, and then reran the update, it would not uninstall that package for me. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to have to bring down the server, and or decide to modify the server using other means. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's take this actually a little further. So I'm going to again make another copy, make a copy of this one here. Rename. No. Rename, there we go. So one of the things that I would actually like to be able to do with this is to do some configuration of MySQL. Okay, namely, what I want to be able to do is actually set a password for logging into MySQL. Okay, so the manner in which we do that, well, actually, that's sort of the question is, well, how do you actually set the password for that? So let me actually do this. Let me go back. Again, one of the things in terms of developing your scripts is kind of playing around and testing out these ideas, right? So real simply, what I'm going to do, actually I can do this a couple of different ways. Oh, let me just go ahead and I'll recreate the script. I'll recreate the stack without MySQL. That's fine. CFN, Amazon, yes. I don't really care what the name is right now. I'm going to end up dumping it anyways. Okay, so that's firing up. Okay, so that is started. Again, yeah, it's not quite there yet. That's fine. By the time I log in, those changes should be all set. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right. So as I said, status all grep. Right. Notice it is not MySQL is not installed. It's not running on this machine. So let me go ahead and do this manually. So I'll say sudo yum install MySQL server. Okay, so it goes through this. Yes, we want to do all that. Doesn't take very long. Okay, once again, notice it's not running, right? Because generally, by default, under Amazon's Linux, when we install it, that does not get the that does not have the server running by default. Whereas under Ubuntu, we see sort of the opposite behavior. We do the install, and it does in fact automatically run it. Now let me go ahead and run this. So I'll say sudo service MySQL D and start. Okay, and when I run this, when I run MySQL for the first time, notice I actually get a bunch of kind of helpful information here, right? So let me just kind of make this bigger so we can kind of see this. Right, so yeah, there I ran the command. It says, okay, it's installing, blah, 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 running with this. Right, to start at a boot time, yeah, we want to do this. Remember, so please remember, set a password for the MySQL root user. Do so, start the server, then issue the following command. Okay, so we need to run the MySQL admin command, basically then we specify the user that we are setting the password for, the keyword password, and so in reality the way that you tend to, I could actually write this whole command out like this, and then basically we would in fact set the password directly. I don't generally want to do that at the command line though, because then I would have the raw new password listed there. So typically when we're using this, we would actually use it something like this, and then I could say, okay, here's my password, and there it is again. Right, so now when I try to log in as root, notice it says you can't log in as root without a password. However, if I do the -p option, it will ask me for the password, like so. Okay, now one of the things, this hasn't totally locked this down, because for instance, if I run MySQL without a user, notice it allows me to get access to the database. Okay, in fact, actually, on your current homework, that's one of the things that you're going to fix. Okay, but this thing here, the MySQL admin -u root password, that's the thing that we want to basically we want to build into to our system here. All right. So, a couple of things. Basically, so what I'll do, let me go over to the Amazon thing. I'm going to create a parameter, like they're actually doing here, for the database password, right? So, or actually we'll call it database root password. All right, so there's the DB root password, or that parameter. Let me go over to the script that I'm editing. I'm going to actually put this up above all of these things, right? So that'll be the first thing that we enter in. One of the things I want you to note is this option here, right? No echo true means when I'm typing in that password on the web form, it won't actually be echoed out, so that someone could shoulder surf us and kind of see exactly what's going on. or basically steal our password. Okay, now this gives me the opportunity to also kind of split up and to show you sort of another feature. So there's this notion within for CloudFormation called config sets. Okay. So with config sets, basically you give it a name. So for instance, I'm going to call this install and run. Where did I get that name? Actually, again, if you refer back over to the Amazon one, I'm pretty much stealing it from there. And here's the idea behind config sets. So I can actually give it kind of two sets of rules. So for instance, I can say, okay, there's going to be a rule called install, and that's actually just going to be the things that we just did, right? So that is all of this stuff here I'm going to call install. Now there's nothing magical about the word install. I could have called it foo, right? In the same way that when we name our EC2 instance, you know, I could call it here, I'm calling it EC2 instance. I could have called it whatever I wanted, right? But again, then I want to match that up. Okay, so back to install. So I'm going to have one for install, and then I'm going to have a separate one for configure. Okay, and again, if we take a quick look here, if we just peek over at this, you'll see the same type of setup going on here. So scroll down past all of this, and yeah. Right, so they create a configuration set, and so notice we have one for install, we have one for they have one for configure. Okay, so I'm going to use basically that same pattern. Now, what's nice about this is this allows us to basically also define exactly the order that these are going to run. So first we'll do the install rules, then we'll do the configure rules. Okay, so what are our configure rules going to be? Well, our configure rules, we're going to keep it very simple. Again, if you look at the configuration in the Amazon sample script, they're doing a lot more. Okay, but I'm not going to do quite that much. All right, let me see. This is at, I just want to make sure that's at column 9. Okay, so let me come down to here, past the services. I'm going to go over to here, and let's get back out to column 9. And here's my rules for configure. Right? Now, for configure, I have access to all of the same stuff. So I could do packages again, I could do files, I could do services if I needed to, all of that. But at this stage, there's really only one thing that I'm interested in, and that is commands. Okay? So commands allows us to basically define certain commands that need to be run. Okay? So in our case, it's going to be set the MySQL password to that specified in the parameters. Okay. Then we basically give a name for our command. So I'll just give it something like this: set MySQL root password. Okay. Then the command. Okay. And since we're going to be referring to that parameter, I'm going to need a sub, and so we want MySQL admin tac u root password, and then db root password. Okay, so that's the command that gets run. Now, again, just for completeness sake, let me just point out, if you take a look at the sample script, for all of their commands, they actually show, let's see, just down a little farther. Here we are. Right? So for each of their commands, they have command and then they have test, right? And so you notice this. And at first when I looked at this before reading the documentation, I was a little confused. And I sort of thought, well, okay, maybe it's the case that, you know, test, coming kind of from that, coming from a unit testing kind of background, I figured, okay, maybe test is actually checking to see that the command has in fact worked. It's actually the opposite. Okay, so the way this works is that the test is the thing that runs first. And if the test basically returns true, then we know that we're supposed to run the command. Okay, so that's essentially the idea behind test. You don't have to put in a test, it's optional. So if you always want that that command to run, then you basically just set it up just like we have here. Okay, now I'm not quite done. Because we're using a config set, that means that I have to actually make a slight change to my call to cfn-init. Okay, so down in the user data section here, where we're making our call to cfn-init, okay, what I do need is just someplace in here, and I guess I'm just going to throw this in here. I'll say config sets, capital S, no, lowercase s, config sets, and then basically the name of the config set that I'm running, install and run. Okay. And remember that we also have one other place where we're calling cfn-init, and that's basically up in the auto reloader conf. So if I come up to here, right, again, we see, where did I have that? I put it right after, yeah, I put it right after resource. That's what I thought. Okay, there's the resource. And again, let me paste that in. Okay. So now this is set to use basically our updated to use the config sets. All right, so let's make sure this is saved. Let's go ahead and give this a try. All right, I don't need this. I don't need that one anymore. So let me go ahead and dump that. That should also kill this. Oh, there we go. And create stack. And there we'll use our update test. I'll click next. Okay. I'll still call it update test. That's fine. All right. So now I can pass in my my super secret password. 1234. How about that? And set our SSH location. So we have those things. No, don't save that. Yes, go ahead and continue on. Right, again, so we're seeing the benefits of no echo. And we'll go ahead and click create. And it's running. Okay, so it says creation is complete. That's good. We didn't seem to, didn't do a rollback, so that's encouraging. Yeah, it's probably still finishing up that. That's okay. Let me go ahead and copy our public DNS. And I'm going to grab this, paste in the new public DNS, and open that up. Okay. So, we're logged in. Good. Let's do our sudo services status all. And I'm just going to put that, oops, sudo, sorry, service. Yes, cfn-hup is running. That's good. HTTPD is running. That's good. Notice MySQL is running. Okay, and furthermore, if I do MySQL tac u for root, notice it says I can't log in to as the root user for MySQL without a password, right? If I do the dac-p, then it asks for my password 1234, and now I'm in, right? Again, as I said, we're not technically totally done because we can still use things like this and so forth. Okay, so now you basically have a really clear or complete picture of the different parts of CloudFormation, including the helper scripts, including being able to get update working and all of that. Hopefully that helps. If you have questions, you're in the class, shoot them to me in Piazza. If you happen to find this on the web, then just post your questions down in the comments.